hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. And if you need your dose of what's been happening in the advertising, marketing, brand and FMCG world with a dash of spice, you're at the right place. Let's get the show on the road and find out what's lined up for you in the next half hour. On the show, India may be one of the world's largest liquor manufacturers, yet when it comes to premium labels, Indian liquor manufacturers are just nowhere on the radar. YouTube launches its partnership program that allows content creators to actually monetize their YouTube page.
I'm the boss of Maxis India, or the new Anna.
And last but not the least, catch the young ones of Maxis India shoot some tough questions.
Why does the industry like to think that Maxis is all about Ajit Varghese?
Right at their big boss, Ajit Varghese, on Quiz the Boss. Did you know that India is one of the largest liquor consumption markets in the world? Maybe not. But you do know that the young Indian consumer is increasingly becoming very discerning and extremely brand conscious. Yet, ironically, Indian liquor manufacturers have yet to wake up to this fact and are still struggling to become the preferred choice when it comes to premium labels. Khushbu Patodia spoke to both Indian and international liquor manufacturers to get a sense of what's preventing Indian players to step up their game.
An industry worth 345 billion rupees. Growing at 12 to 15% per annum. 100 million consumers to be added over the next 3 years. India, one of the largest consumption markets. And India's largest liquor player is also the world's largest in volumes. Astonishing, isn't it? Ironically, despite the young and aspirational Indian becoming extremely brand conscious, Indian liquor companies have still not stepped up to create an indigenous brand to lure the discerning Indian consumer. So what's stopping them to take the premium route?
In terms of producing the quality, there is no doubt that Indian liquor manufacturers have the ability and the expertise to produce any level of premiumness in terms of the product. However, we also have to give weightage to the fact that the consumer perceives a foreign product, and I say that foreign in parenthesis, to be more premium than Indian.
Do the Indian companies have the wherewithal and the capital support to create a premium portfolio, which requires a fair bit of investing activity too? I think that's the area where Indian companies really fail and falter. So if you look at the largest Indian company, all the profits put together for them is around $100 million. Now that's a pitiful profit for a company which controls 60% of the Indian market, Indian liquor market.
Yes, global brands like Pernod Ricard and Diageo are giving tough competition to Indian manufacturers when it comes to margin profitability. Currently, the market leader contributes over 70% of its volumes by brands in the regular segment. We are referring to United Spirits Limited that controls 55% of the liquor market in India. IDFC's recent data shows that Pernod, which is at 1/5 the volumes of USL, still matches USL's profitability and is projected to generate $250 million plus US of profits in the next 4 to 5 years.
Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Jim Beam and all the other players have been here, and it's not that they are coming in now. Except for Pernod, which also got success only in the last 6-7 years. They struggled for the first many years. But their 3 brands have done extremely well, and they have got good success in the last 6-7 years.
USL's strategy of focusing on volumes is the driving force behind its ability to garner scale, dominance and robust distribution in the Indian market. But is that a hurdle in the growth of the premium segment in India?
Yes, the large chunk of our volume is in the regular segment, but that has been because of the historical way we have operated. But if you see our growths in the premium and prestige and our new launches, which we have done in the last 2-3 years, have been huge successes. The idea is to see per case into volume, and volume is a very critical part into the per case to improve our bottom line.
I'm going to be unkind over here and say, well, it's a question of quality. At the end of the day, if you are more concerned with the number of cases that you can churn out and how quickly you can churn them out, then what you are putting in the market is effectively rectified spirit with some Scotch concentrate and malt coloring. You're not looking for a discerning customer when you try and do that. And unless you say that I have to compete with, at least with Johnny Red, if not with Johnny Black, if I'm going to make a blended whiskey, I have to compete with a Glenfiddich or a Glenlivet or a Glenmorangie or a Macallan or an Ardbeg or a Lagavulin if I'm going to put out something close to a single malt whiskey. Unless I do that, I am never going to capture the premium customer.
So while one understands that premium is where profits lie, the undergrowth of the premium segment, as experts point out, is subject to reasons galore. And even though the upper end of the market promises superior growth and higher profit generation capability to any liquor player, yet the biggest handicap of the industry seems to be regulated pricing.
Government also has to share the blame for this. The way our rules are set up, our label registration fees, our excise duties, it really stacks the whole deck against the small quality producer. And it really helps the huge volume, low margin producer. So if you look at that whole excise structure that's going on, it's going to be very difficult for brands to come out and start, making a bespoke, small production liquor or a wine, for example, which you find is the norm in, say, the United States or in Europe. Here, to enter a state, you've got to pay 50 lakhs per brand, for example, as a brand registration fee. And you obviously can't do that with a small production.
So I think the ability to reinvest capital is something which is concerning, and that's the area where there's been resistance internally for those companies to reinvest that capital and create a brand portfolio which can last longer, which can create a more formidable premium portfolio which can compete with the multinational portfolios.
In 60% of the markets, government controls pricing. Lack of pricing power, advertising restrictions and loyalty to international brands poses to be a big entry barrier. Add to that increased aggression from global players, which is only going to intensify in the near future. But USL claims that it is no longer an Indian player, but an international one with the acquisition of White & Mackay in 2007. Post this acquisition, USL has been riding on the success of single malt brands like Dalmore and Jura that are doing extremely well for them. In fact, even Pernod's success or the fact that Diageo may be considering ramping up the India operations doesn't seem to bother them.
I don't believe at all. In fact, most of the foreign liquor brands are suffering and they have been around for 15 years and have not been able to make any headway in India. In fact, Diageo, which is the largest player in the world by value, has been struggling in India for the last 15 years and has less than 1% of the market in the overall context. Because the only reason why they have got good brands, but we have much better distribution and far better relationship over in the channels which matter.
Rising inflation, increased competition from global brands and attractive margins in the premium segment. Stir them up and you'll arrive at only one truth. The premium end is where the next wave of growth will come from. And while Indian players like USL, Sula, Radico and many more have had a late realization, nevertheless these brands have already started innovating and are gearing up to launch their very own collection of Indian premium labels.
There is a space. We need to come up with ultra premium brands. These brands take there's a gestation period because you have to get it right the first time. So we are working with we have benchmarked ourselves with the best in the globe, and we are working with some of the best packaging and blend experts across the globe to create offerings which, though will come out of India, will be world class.
But the move towards premiumization needs to be speedy, as any further delay in the process could make the road ahead for Indian liquor companies very alarming.
Well, on that note, time for a short breather, but don't go away, as up next we bring you YouTube's latest monetizing strategy. Stay tuned.